Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us this morning. Looks like it is right at 10 a.m. I'm just going to do a little housekeeping as people join in. At the bottom of your Zoom panel, there's going to be a chat box and a Q&A box. So feel free to throw your questions in the chat box or the Q&A box, and we'll make sure to address those by the end of the webinar. And I think that's it. Tom, I'm going to go ahead and just pass it over to you.
All righty then. Welcome everybody to the webinar. This is kind of a unique one. It's the first time we've done one on both cybersecurity and cyber insurance. Davin joined our team last year, and he comes to the topic of today's webinar, from a unique perspective. He is both a licensed insurance agent, and now he is an Infosec specialist, or an Infosec consultant would perhaps be more accurate. So today, Davin is going to share with you this. It's a closely related thing, right? I would not be surprised if many of you have cybersecurity insurance, but you don't know what to do to get good cybersecurity defense in place. And that's what we talk about all the time, every time. And we try to approach it from a different angles. And so what Davin's going to talk about is the not only the historically it hasn't been a close relationship, but Davin's going to talk about what we're seeing in insurance right now from the underwriters and the things, because they're getting hit 9 ways to Sunday on cybersecurity claims. Some of them are leaving the business. Others are raising their premiums 200 to 300%. Others are not even insured, won't even underwrite a policy. If you don't have your ducks in a row, you don't have good security. So we're going to talk about all of those things in the next coming slides. So having said all of that, I'm going to turn it over to Davin.
Thank you so much, Tom. I'm glad to be here today. That was actually a great introduction. But as you see, I am a cybersecurity. So Tom did mention, he said Infosec. You'll hear that word tossed around a little bit between cybersecurity and information security. So don't get confused if we switch that around a little bit, but I am a cybersecurity specialist with a background in insurance. And I'm with IronTech Security. As you see, we're a managed security service provider, which is a MSSP, which you'll probably hear often, especially here in the next coming months. But we specialize in securing organizations, one-person firms, medium-sized, large businesses from information theft and breaches. So before we get started, if just for my curiosity, if anyone has experienced a cyber attack or knows anyone that's experienced a cyber attack, just put in the comment box a Y or a yes. And I just want to see what kind of audience we have here today.
Yeah, especially a ransomware attack.
Yeah, especially ransomware attack. And we'll go a little bit deeper into ransomware attacks. Of course, if you're not too fond of that term, you'll learn about it today. Like Tom mentioned, of course, we're talking about cybersecurity and cyber insurance today. You're going to learn about good cybersecurity practices. You're going to learn about ways to protect your business in 2022, and not only your business, but also your clients. We're going to learn about the questions and scenarios you should be asking, but overall, how to prepare for a cyber attack, for that ransomware attack. Regarding cyber insurance, of course, it's continuing to change. It's changing right now. There's always changes in underwriting requirements that you all will be experiencing here soon, as well as current trends and overall increases in price projections as well. So, of course, this is about both cybersecurity and cyber insurance. And we're going to learn about why both are necessary and essential to your business, not only in 2022, but forever in the years to come. Because cyber threats, and you'll learn today, they're not going away. They're happening every single day. They're changing, they're adapting, and so we have to as well. Finally, we're going to learn about what to do, the first steps to take, how to secure your business. We're going to give you easy tips, step by step, what to do. And so there's no confusion, and you'll have the tools and the resources to overall protect your business and your clients in the right way. So first, cybersecurity. What is cybersecurity? Just definition, it's the art of protecting networks, devices, and data from unauthorized access or criminal use in the practice of ensuring confidentiality, integrity, and availability of information. All right, so now that we know what cybersecurity is, we can move on to cyber insurance. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. We know a little bit about cybersecurity, but we're going to dive in deeper, of course. But first, we're going to get some myths out of the way. So first, we hear this often every single day. Of course, 24/7, that's what we're doing, cybersecurity. What we often hear is we're too small. And like I said, we work with one-person firms to middle-sized to large businesses, but just last week, actually, so it's January 20th, last Wednesday, Thursday, a lady called me. She's entrepreneur, single-person firm, runs her own business, has been doing this for years. And she just, in this month of 2022, she's had to change her phone number, all her login credentials 3 times in the past month, and just in January of 2022. Now she's experienced that and had to change all of those credentials and everything because of cyber attacks over and over and over again. And that goes into another myth that we're going to talk about later, but you're not too small. Just a one-person firm, 100 employee company, you're at risk. Everyone is at risk. So that's another reason why cybersecurity is important. Another myth we hear is cybersecurity is expensive. And like I said, that's a myth because the bare minimum just to secure a workstation is $20, $30 a month. And compared to the average ransomware payouts of over $100,000 every 11 seconds, a company's hit by ransomware back in 2021, and that number is going to increase in 2022. In that the fact that paying victims only recovered 65% of their data. Now, when you think of it in those terms, protecting your organization, your clients, your business for just a piece of what a ransomware payout is really doesn't sound that bad. The next one is what we hear very often, probably every single week, in that antivirus good enough. I got it. We're good. We've been using it for years. That's all I need. And that's false. The reason, and I'll break it down very briefly, the way antivirus works is it's looking for a malicious code, malicious logs that are already known. They have to be known, so they have to be about 3 to 6 months old, be whitelisted, and then the antivirus is all over. They can look for it and make sure that attack doesn't happen. But think of it this way: is they're looking for threats that are 3 to 6 months old. So to put it in perspective, say you go home, your TV's stolen, your security alarm doesn't go off. What can you do? Nothing. You can report it, but nothing happens. Your TV's already gone. So you're sitting on a couch 3 months later, the security alarm goes off. That's basically the same thing. The threat's already happened. You can't do anything about it. But then 3 months later, it catches it trying again, and it's too late. So nowadays, people need something that can monitor and analyze and find threats in real time, 24/7. And we'll talk about those and the tools that you can utilize for your company to have that security. But antivirus, they're just not doing it anymore. They're old. Another one we hear is we already have cybersecurity insurance. We don't need cybersecurity. And so, of course, that's what this whole webinar is about today, why both are essential. So we're going to debunk that myth throughout this presentation. Next is we've survived a ransomware attack. We're all good. Won't happen again ever. And of course, just from the first example of the lady experiencing a ransomware attack 3 times, or a malicious cyber attack 3 times in 1 month, just one lady, you can see that that's false. But factual is when, of course, you have a cyber attack, almost probably about 75, 90% of the time, they'll create a backdoor. So it makes it, you think everything's clean, everything's clear, but the backdoor that they created makes it easy for another cyber attack to happen again and again and again. And that's what we see often. The businesses experience 2 to 3 cyber attacks in maybe the past 6 months, a year. And now they're just finally getting something in place to make sure it doesn't happen again once it's too late. The next one is cybersecurity is an IT issue. There's a difference between information security, cybersecurity, and IT. And I like to think of it this way. So if I had a heart attack, God forbid, knock on wood, I prefer a heart surgeon work on me. Now there's heart surgeons and there's brain surgeons, and they both work in the medical field, but they both have their specialties. Just like IT and InfoSec. They both work in the tech field, the tech realm. But like I said, there's a team of IT specialists and there's a team of InfoSec specialists. Now they have to work together for the customer, for the client, to make sure their network is safe and secure and running smoothly. But they both have their specialties that they work on every single day, 24/7. Tom, do you have anything to add to that? I know you've been working with these myths forever, so you've probably heard all kinds of things.
Yeah. Well, a couple of things. One of the reasons that there's no such thing as being too small or being in the middle of nowhere is irrelevant, is because the vast majority of these ransomware attacks aren't the Colonial Pipelines or the JBS food supply or what the meat packer up there. The ones you see on CNN that are $4, $5 million, $10 million ransomware demands. The vast majority are the $5,000 and $10,000 ransomware for the two of you that answered in the affirmative on that. That is the bulk of these attacks, and they're automated and they're done at scale. They don't know who you are. They don't care who you are. They deal with terms like conversion rates. They'll blast out 100,000 emails. If just 1,000 people become a victim, multiply that times 10,000 people or $10,000 each on average for the ransom payment, you can see that a $10 million payday for a week or two of work is very, very lucrative. A little bit more about cybersecurity and IT, and every single day this is something I stress more and more and more. And it's not just me. Davin's going to show you in the slide coming up. I think it might be next.
Mm-hmm.
But it is two entirely different specialties. You want your IT people, and it doesn't matter if they're on staff or you outsource it or whatever. You want them to concentrate on just keeping everything running, not going down, not having help desk calls. Just make it run so that technology just fades into the background so you can do your work. That's why you invest in technology, computers and servers and routers and switches. It's about the bottom line. It increases your efficiency, your profitability. Cybersecurity or InfoSec is about protecting your organization, your people, yourself, your clients, and even your vendors. For some of you, we're talking about protecting entire communities, maybe entire states, maybe the nation for some of you. And it's important to understand that requires an entirely different skill set. It requires an entirely different way the organization runs. A cybersecurity organization is designed to be Johnny on the spot. 4-hour service level agreement for a cybersecurity company is inadequate. That's what a typical IT company has either promised you, or that's kind of how they work, right? They don't let a ticket just sit there with no response or a phone call with no response. And they try to get to you within an hour or two, no more than 4. That's kind of best practices, right? In our world, minutes count, just like a fire department.
That's right.
But if we're not already in place, we can't respond. So if you're waiting, so I'll contact a cybersecurity company if we have an incident. You're already behind the 8 ball, because companies like us that's not our specialty. When that happens, we have a client contact us with an event that happened last week or yesterday, or they're under attack right now. We don't have any of our defensive tools in place, and that potential client becomes a threat vector to us, and we can't risk it. There's a whole different specialty in cybersecurity for that type of incident response. But the key to it is putting it in place. And Davin's going to show you that that's not just me, it's not just IronTech or Davin saying it. It is best practices for all businesses and organizations around the world, really.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
I'll toss it back to you, Davin.
Well, thank you for the explanation and a little deeper dive there. But from that, of course, we got the myths out of the way. We know what people are saying that's not exactly true. And so now we move to the fact of what are actual good cybersecurity practices. That brings us down to the 5 things. So 5 things, Ann Neuberger, she's a White House Deputy National Security Advisor for Cyber and Emerging Technology. I have no idea how she fits that on her business card, but she is a White House official that's urged all businesses and really everyone to implement the 5 best security practices. And we call those 5 things when we talk to our clients and individuals. And the number one thing is a skilled security team. So that's a skilled security team of information security specialists. And what you should expect from them is, one, of course, the 5 things that we're going to discuss. But first, they should be able to help you reveal your risk and vulnerabilities, your current risk and vulnerabilities that you have right now. And from that, then you develop a plan to put some security controls in place to make sure those vulnerabilities are taken care of. And of course, then they orchestrate that, and they have plans and policies and procedures in place to make sure nothing happens. And when something does, they can react and get to it quickly, make sure it's taken care of, and overall make sure it doesn't happen again. And they have security tools that we're about to talk about, such as the EDR. So what's an EDR? It's an endpoint detection and response tool, and some people call it an endpoint threat detection and response tool. But this is the tool that you need to monitor 24/7 in real time. Basically, like I said, antivirus is old, and this is what you need now. The way it works, it doesn't log malicious or it doesn't look for malicious code, things like that. It's looking for malicious activity, anomalies, things that shouldn't be happening, which usually result in a cyber attack. For example, say you click on a Word document. When you open that Word document, there's specific activity that's supposed to happen every single time. But if you click on it and something out of the ordinary happens, that EDR is monitoring. So when that happens, it can isolate that activity, analyze what's going on. And if it's using one AI and human people specialist to analyze that threat and either kill it immediately or whitelist it and let it keep on going through, and you go about your business. But to me, I put it into perspective as like a Ring doorbell. A lot of people have those. My mom even has one on her front door, but it monitors what's going on, the activity that's going on outside. And EDR can also do inside, but it's monitoring what's going on. And when someone comes up to the door, of course, if it's a threat, it lets the owner of the home know, and then you can either tell the threat to go away or allow it to go in. And so to put in perspective, it's an amazing tool that if everyone had this, the world would be a lot safer. You wouldn't have to worry so much when you sleep at night, but EDR is very, very important. Next is encryption. Now, disk encryption is on most mobile devices and almost all iPads, phones, but it's a technology that protects information by changing it to unreadable code. Of course, the unauthorized users, attackers, possible cyber threats. Tom, you have could you tell them a little bit more about encryption and how it's used?
Yeah. So the deal with what Ann is saying here is, and this is also, these are 5 things she pulled out of President Biden's executive order for all government agencies that they mandated to have all of this stuff in place. And what she's doing with this letter is saying the government, well, there's a couple of things. The U.S. government can't stop this. They have limited means. They are designed for offensive cyber warfare, not defense. And the United States doesn't have a cyber mercenary force like Russia, and that's where most of these attacks are coming from. There's others from Iran and China and some other untouchable places, for the criminals to reside in. But what she's saying is you got to turn on disk encryption for your stuff. You need to encrypt your data at rest. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, that means that your servers, that disk needs to be encrypted. Your workstations has to be encrypted. Your laptops, your especially any portable devices.
Yes.
Because, if you lose it or it gets stolen, it's real easy to read the data that's on any of the disk. Now, you may be thinking, well, nobody's going to break into the server or break into my office and steal a desktop or a server. Well, I would argue with that. That still happens, believe it or not. But more importantly, what happens to that equipment if you retire it or you donate it or you give it away, or you recycle it. If that data is not encrypted, all you got to do is plug it into a USB port and read it. It bypasses all the Windows security. Doesn't even care what the operating system is because it's got direct disk access. If that disk is encrypted, it can't be read. There is a huge business on eBay and other sites where people buy used disk drives and mine it for data. And then they'll sell it on the dark web, turn it over to WikiLeaks, whatever they can do to make a buck. So you've got to encrypt all your stuff. And if you've tried it in the past and it slowed everything down, it's not like that anymore. You will not notice that it's running. It's built in to all operating systems, and it doesn't cost anything to turn it on. I think Windows might turn it on by default on Windows 11, but don't hold me to that. If you're using any of the Apple products, it is on by default, and it's really darn secure. So it's something really easy that you can immediately start, turn on after you get off this webinar.
Yeah, very easy tool just that you can do yourself, but of course, security team as well.
Do you want me to talk a little bit more about that EDR?
Yeah, add a little bit. What do you got for that?
Well, I think the important thing is to understand an EDR, endpoint detect response, or detect and respond. And MEDR or MDR is managed, and so if you've got a skilled security team, and any MSSP worth their salt is going to manage it, it has a neural net. Davin mentioned artificial intelligence, machine learning, whatever you want to call it. There are technical distinctions between those two terms, but we don't want to get into that. But in fact, our primary EDR, within seconds of a new threat being discovered anywhere in the world, every agent around the world is updated to look for that threat because it has a neural net. Those of you that drive Teslas, then you have autopilot. Every time you go down the same stretch of highway, all Teslas get smarter and smarter and smarter.
Yeah.
And it's a very similar thing. So when it detects a new threat in Tokyo, it just broke out, it's a brand new, undiscovered threat, using artificial intelligence, it learns exactly what to do, and immediately, at the speed of light practically, every single computer protected by that EDR around the world knows to look for it, knows what to look for and how to stop it. It's really cool technology.
It is amazing. It really is. Like I said, and that's a reason why you simply had just started with the EDR. Your security level would be 10 times what it is now. But next, thank you for that, Tom. Next, we have MFA, which is multi-factor authentication. A lot of you have probably used this for something, at least, but it's a very valuable security tool, especially for remote work. Of course, since COVID, a lot of you here, y'all either probably work from home, you might be working from home right now, or maybe some of your employees had, or maybe even a hybrid model, work from home half the week, another week in the office. But if you have to remote into your desktop at work, or if you have to remote into your server or any data, really, MFA should be required, should be an essential security tool for all of your employees, for your whole organization. Simply to put in perspective, if someone gets access to your credentials and you're working from home, they log into your workstation, they have access to everything. But if they get your credentials and you have MFA, they try to log in, they also have to steal your phone. And personally, my phone is always right here in my pocket. It goes from my pocket to my hand to my head. And so it's pretty hard to steal, but that's why MFA is essential. It's a necessity. All of our clients, they're required to have MFA if they use remote work. And of course, we use MFA every single day. It's super easy. Simply just type in your credentials when you log in, get a text to your phone, click yes, and you keep going about your business. Doesn't slow down any operations, but it's a necessary security tool that you have to have.
Yeah, and once again, this is something that you can start using immediately after this webinar.
Exactly right.
from our perspective, you need to get another service product from us for remote desktop access. Remoting into an office computer, and there is a little bit more money for that, but you can do it for free with Google Authenticator, and you can turn it on your Amazon account, your Facebook account. How many people have gotten a message from somebody on Facebook that says, "Hey, ignore any messages from me. My account got hacked"?
Yeah.
If they had simply turned on MFA, that would never have happened, and it's free. You can do that immediately when you get off this webinar. What Ann is saying in her letter is turn it on and use it everywhere it's available. Bank accounts, social media. You would be, if you just go into the security settings, you will be shocked of how available MFA. And once you do it, turn it on in a couple of places once or twice and learn how to use it. It's a breeze after that. It's not a big learning curve at all. And our technology, actually, what we do with Windows Workstation, you don't even have to type in a number. You just hit OK on your phone. It's really neat. Yeah. So that once again, that's the vast majority of the things that you need to turn on MFA for is free. Okay.
Next, and is one of the most important partner with that security team, is continuous defensive improvements. And this is another part where that skilled security team comes in. Like I said, they're information security specialists, cybersecurity specialists, and they live and breathe cybersecurity 24/7, all day, every day. And they have to keep up with the changing cyber threats. You have to make sure that you have the best of breed, the best of the best security tools on your organization, because you should not settle when talking about security. I mean, you wouldn't settle for a wooden bolt lock on your front door. Somebody would easily kick that. If I'd prefer to have some brass or some steel on my bolt lock on my front door, but it's the same thing. You're securing your organization, you're securing your employees, you're securing your clients and customers, and they deserve the best of the best security tools. And so that's what you should have. That's what you need, and that's what your security team can make sure that you have. Continuously changing those cyber threats. They change every single day, and the security tools have to adapt, and you have to as well. Your security team, and they should also keep up with what's going on in the world. I mean, Tom, there's been update after update after update with cyber threats going on overseas that will have effect on the U.S. Probably here in the next month or coming months.
Yeah, well, right now we're on high alert over the Ukraine deal, and don't kid yourself in thinking that you won't be affected by that from a cybersecurity standpoint. Russia is already conducting cyber war on Ukraine right now. And of course, they've done it in the past with Ukraine. They actually used Ukraine as a test run. All of the nation states have developed really good cyber warfare. The Russians are masters of social manipulation, but they've got really good other good offensive weapons too. So, if Putin thinks, let's just say he's going to invade Ukraine, if he wants to keep the United States busy and make things chaotic here, all he's got to do is put a message up to his criminal cohorts, his cyber mercenary force in Russia, and just say, attack all the law firms and water utilities in the United States at will.
Yeah.
And just imagine if it's only 100 of tiny water utilities or tiny law firms. That's going to make CNN headline, and everybody's going to get nervous, and they're going to be real attacks. And so we have to stay up to date on all of that. We have to stay up to date on new threat technologies, new tactics, techniques, and procedures that they use. We've got to stay up to date on who the threat actors are, all the way down to the groups like Revil. And other, it's a huge business. The criminal hacking industry is huge business, and they're very good. The days of phishing emails where it's got a bunch of bad grammar and misspelled words, those are rare.
Yeah.
When I see one of those these days, I get a chuckle. It's like, wow, this is amateur hour. These emails that they use to plant ransomware are so good, they can fool Infosec specialists. And the reason I know that is because we simulate those attacks every week in our office, and there's only one person in the company that's got a perfect score on them.
And that is not me. I can tell you that.
It's not, and it's not me either.
No.
But I'm telling you, the president of the company, 3 or 4 months ago, he was having to do something with his Gmail account or Google account or whatever it was. I don't know if he had a new phone or a new laptop or whatever it was, and it just coincidentally, he got one of those test simulations, one of those phishing simulations, and it was purported to come from Google Authentication for his account. He fell for it, and that's all it takes. So don't think you won't be fooled. These are top tier con artists, masters at psychological manipulation on compromised websites or these emails that people get. So Infosec specialists, your skilled security team's job is to stay on top of things and to continuously change your defense posture to match what's happening in the real world. And that and these things, that the skilled security team, the EDR, you can't buy EDR off the shelf. No. You've got to get it from a professional organization, security organization. And what it means, and what Ann is saying here, is this is not do-it-yourself anymore. You don't just go buy an internet security suite at Best Buy anymore. It's just not adequate. It's not. I think it's about useless myself. But that's what Ann's saying. You've already got to have that security team to monitor for what's going on, to continually update and change your defensive tactics, your posture. Look for new defensive technologies. Look for new defensive administrative controls. That's what you're going to do. It's the cost of doing business these days.
That's right. And these are just the bare minimum recommendations. These are just 5 things. There's multiple security tools that you can implement for your organization, but these are just the bare minimum. And if you can honestly say that you have these 5 things in place and your business is secure, just drop in the comment, and you can put some quotations around and say, thankfully, I don't have to worry about a cyber attack because I have these things in place. I'll wait a little bit, but I just have a hunch that the comment box might be empty. But from cybersecurity, this is what you need to get started. And we'll talk about some first steps in a second, but for that, we'll talk about cyber insurance. And what do we know about cyber insurance? Of course, it's been around for a little while now, but in the past 5 years, it's become an essential to all businesses, and it's become a necessity. And you might even see it with your full business insurance package might be included, but you'll definitely be hearing about it a lot more in the next month and definitely this year. But cybersecurity insurance is rapidly changing regarding underwriting, security requirements, and a lot more. Like I said, I come from a background of insurance and been able to study cyber insurance. And I met with a highly respected insurance provider, and we talked about how cyber insurance is changing from a provider standpoint, from an insurance provider standpoint, as well as the buyer standpoint. From a provider standpoint, what's some changes that you'll see, and there's some insurance specialists on here, you'll be expecting these soon, and you might have to implement some of these, but insurance providers are seeing an increase in attacks. And with increase in attacks, it comes with frequent payouts and lots of underwriting losses. And so how do you mitigate those risks? How do you mitigate the risk of those costly claims? And one way is that rates must increase. And they've been actually predicted to see double-digit increases just in 2022, just in this year. That's not projections for 2023, and they'll only increase, but if you have a cyber insurance policy, you can expect it to increase. From an underwriting standpoint, they're increasing cybersecurity practices and requiring those. They're increasing the requirement of those practices, such as the 5 things that we just talked about. You may see an email coming out in the next couple months that those things are required for your organization for your cyber insurance policy to be valid. You'll need documentation proving your security measures that you have in place. You'll have to have policies, response plans, procedures, and even employee training, cybersecurity training, which is another great security tool and security measure that I highly, highly recommend. Another thing that you're going to see from insurance providers, or that insurance providers will have to do is coverage restrictions and exclusions from specific types of cyber incidents. Also, all over the states and specifically in Virginia, insurance companies are being required and regulated by the Virginia Bureau of Insurance that they have to have an information security program in place. They have to investigate all cybersecurity events. They have to notify the Commissioner of Insurance of Virginia, of cybersecurity events. They have to notify all their customers affected by cybersecurity events. So as an insurance provider, this is just in Virginia, so here, Arkansas, Florida, California, you might have to prepare for these changes that are coming, these requirements that are coming ahead, because like I said, cyber threats aren't going away, and we're going to have to change, and insurance providers are going to have to change as well. Now, from a buyer standpoint or business owner standpoint that has to have this insurance policy, you're going to experience those higher insurance rates. You're going to be required to have those security measures in place. You might also have a hard time finding or getting approved for a cyber insurance policy because of the decrease in risk appetite in those coverage offerings. A lot of those coverage offerings are going to exclude ransomware attacks. Ransomware attacks that we talked about recently. Ransomware, they're the largest cause of cyber claims in the past 5 years, and of course, the most expensive. And one advice I do have is, if you have a cyber insurance policy, I advise keeping it separate from your business policy, because if you have a cyber event, cyber attack, and it's connected with your business policy, expect 100% that your rates will increase. Just like if you're in a car wreck, your car insurance will increase. Expect your business policy to increase. So I advise having a separate cyber policy from your actual full total business policy. But overall, do you have something to add, Tom?
Yeah. So, a friend of mine's, he's the president of a pretty good sized independent insurance agency here, regional. I do stuff all over the country, but his underwriters, he's seeing 20 to 40% increases, but that's because it's just a couple of 3 underwriters that they represent. But what we're seeing nationally is some reports of 200 to 300% increases in premiums. We're seeing insurers just getting out of the business altogether. We're seeing other insurers doing very in-depth applications and assigning risk to your firm, your organization, based upon if you got the 5 things in place. Do you have security awareness training? Do you use password managers? It's real in-depth. You practically have to have an Infosec specialist to fill the application out. And if you check one box wrong, they're going to deny the claim. And I've seen numbers ranging anywhere between 20 to 49% of claims are going unpaid. They're being denied because somebody checked the wrong box on an insurance application. And another thing that's not insurance, we're starting to see banks, lending organizations increasing loan interest rates for clients that have suffered a data or a security event, because it's a bigger risk to them. They know the numbers on companies that have a successful breach. There's a good chance you might go out of business. So those of you that trade on your reputation, accounting firms, financial firms, law firms, you can't buy back your reputation. No. And you have no idea what kind of collateral damage can come out of it. You may ruin somebody's life. And now you're open to civil suits. There's a real threat of civil fines. And no matter what industry you're in, it is quickly going to be regulated, and you're going to be required to do the 5 things and other stuff to secure your data, protect your customers, your clients. So, like I tell everybody every day, this is the cost of doing business. You can't do it yourself anymore. If you don't, maybe you do your own IT. That's fine. Mm-hmm. But security's got to be job one now. It's not an add-on. It's not a bolt-on anymore. Okay? It's got to be job one. Now, if you want to continue doing your IT and all that stuff, that's fine. You're pretty handy at it, and you got somebody that you call maybe once a year. It's a little out of your, outside your wheelhouse, that's fine. But you can no longer treat security as a nice to have. You can't treat it as, you don't think of it as an add-on to IT. You've got to, you put security in place with skilled professionals first. That is the right way. That's what smart, visionary leadership is doing right now.
That's right. And speaking of leadership and what you can do, leads us to why cyber insurance and cybersecurity are both essential. Just like Tom was saying, if you have one, you have to have the other. You have to think of it this way. So as a homeowner, if you're a homeowner, if you're renting a home, I can guarantee the owner of that home has this, and that is a smoke alarm or a fire alarm. And that's a security measure that's required by your home insurance, by your insurance provider, but overall for your safety. Underwriters who want to avoid a total loss, one question they ask, or that's on the application when filling out a home insurance application, is how close you are to a fire station. It seems simple and you don't really think about it, but they're trying to avoid a total loss, which is very, very important. And when you think about car insurance, everyone here has to have car insurance if you have a car, and if you have anti-lock brakes on your car, I can almost guarantee you'll get a discount on your car insurance. It's a security measure that you have that helps you deter or make sure that you don't have a bad wreck, or keeps you safe. Once again, avoiding that total loss of your car and an insurance payout. So cybersecurity and cyber insurance, they have the same relation. Car insurance is necessary. Cyber insurance is now necessary. It's an essential. And with necessary insurance comes required security measures right there paired with it. It's been like that for years, and it's going to continue to be like that. So you have to expect these security measures, and you have to have these in place. And we've learned about cybersecurity and cyber insurance separate, but when you pair them two together, there's no friction. There's only benefits. Cyber attacks, they're real. You can ask any insurance provider. Like I said, me and Tom, we've met with multiple insurance providers on the area, and they have had their hands full with cyber attacks and cyber payouts all of 2021, and multiple just in the past 3 months, the last 3 months of 2021. And so they're making a change. They don't want to deal with these costly claims, these payouts. They're requiring security features, security measures for their clients. And the attacks aren't going away. So they're adapting, and business owners and businesses all over, they have to adapt as well. Because it's not if your organization will be attacked, it's when. And that's a fact. So what do you do? Well, this is step by step what you should do in order. One, plan with your information security team. Like I said, they should, one, reveal your risk and vulnerabilities. You have to know what you need to protect, where your risks are. Then from that, you put that plan in place. You figure out what security controls you need to take care of those vulnerabilities. And then your team takes care of that. They take care of your policies and procedures that you have to have. You have to have a response plan when something happens. And that's what that team is for. Like you see, those first two go together. You have to create the plan with your team, with your specialist, and then you have to implement the plan. You have the resources at your fingertips. You know the 5 things. Now you have to implement the security measures. After that, talk with your insurance advisor. Make sure you're compliant with the security controls and security measures that they require for, if something does happen, for that claim to be paid out. You have to make sure that, one, you're meeting their needs, but also that your needs are met as well regarding your insurance policy. And if something needs to be changed or adjusted, that's when you do so. You have all the information. You already have the tools in place. Now, if there's changes that need to be made to meet your needs for your company, as well as your insurance provider, then you make them. The last and final step is what you're doing right now, is education. Make sure you know about cyber threats. Make sure you know about cybersecurity. You have to know good cybersecurity practices so you can make efficient and effective decisions. But also, knowledge is only as good as it's used. So it's all about doing it. You have to do it. You know the need, and you have to meet it. Tell me, you have anything to add regarding those steps?
No, well, yeah, I do a little bit. If you do the planning with your your Infosec stuff, you're going to get the 5 things, right? We're also seeing that it depends on the underwriter and what their the way they do the application process. Are they analyzing risk
Mhm.
and then assigning the premium on that? We're seeing that those underwriters that do it that way, they check. If you're a high risk, you've got to pay $10,000 a year.
Oh,
If
yeah.
you're low risk, you've got the 5 things. You're doing security awareness training. Maybe it's only $2,000 a year. Well, we're seeing that's an $8,000 difference.
Oh,
They do, the premiums. I'm just using that as an example. So those of you that are at high risk, you're going to pay $8,000 more, or $5,000 more, or $3,000 more for cybersecurity insurance. But if you do the 5 things, or maybe a couple of other things to really beef up your security posture, it pays for itself. The stuff that you put in to defend your company is cheaper than the premium increase. Not to mention the fact you don't want to rely on insurance to make you whole. It's just like all other insurance. Worst case scenario, at least I've got insurance.
yeah.
That's worst case scenario. It will not make you 100% whole. So yeah,
Right.
it'll pay for itself. And if you're not in an industry that's regulated right now, you will be. I promise you. I've seen it for years. Everybody knows about Hipaa laws. At first, it was a recommendation, and then the Office of Civil Rights, who enforces the Hipaa laws, the privacy laws, the patient health information, they said, "Oh, we're not going to fine you if you have an incident. Let us know. We'll look into it, and we'll both work together to figure out what went wrong." And then a couple of years later, they immediately started fining out of the box. As soon as you report an incident, which they're required to do by law, immediately start with the fine first, because they gave them fair warning.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't heed it. They had an egregious security gap, and patient health information was released or acquired by criminals or nation states or whoever the hacker was. And I'm telling you, I'm seeing it, and it's changing rapidly. Critical infrastructure is changing rapidly. Those of you that are in water utilities, that OWIA was just the first step, and it was wholly inadequate as far as I'm concerned. But believe me, the EPA and other departments are going to enforce it, just like they have in the electrical industry, just like they have with accountants. Accountants are changing. There's a difference between 21 and 22 with their regulations and compliance. It's rapidly changing. And every day you wait to put in good security is a day that it could happen to you. So your first step is to know the condition of your ship. Find out where you are, where you're vulnerable, and then get protected. That's it.
That's right.
Oh, Davin, at the end, let's see, we got about 12 minutes for the top of the hour. Mm-hmm. I've got a surprise that I want to show everybody if we can carve out just a couple of minutes.
That'd be perfect. That'd be perfect. Well,
you guys will like this.
Yes, you will.
Hang on till the end and I'll show it to you. I think you'll really like it. It's kind of cool.
Good. Well, of course, the goal today was hope to give you valuable information. And now you have the knowledge and resources to make those decisions you need to make to protect your business and overall make sure your clients and employees and your organization is taken care of. The final step is I strongly advise you talk to professionals, talk to the specialists in cybersecurity, cyber insurance, and get their advice. They will tell you what to do. They know what to do. They deal with this every single day. But that's what you need to do. I hope this was beneficial. Of course, we both look forward to speaking to you all again. We're going to run through this briefly, and Tom has a surprise. Now, if you want to start off right and speak to the InfoSec specialist, That first, it's actually a link. It's meeting.irontechsecurity.com. That'll give you, take you to a website where you can schedule a short meeting where you can kind of, like Tom said, discuss your ship, find those vulnerabilities, get a plan together, and get started. You can also send us an email at sales@irontechsecurity.com. But if you just want a short phone call, me to answer some questions, right there is my personal line. Call me, I'll answer. If not, might be a lunch. No, I'm kidding. But I promise.
Well, you don't work 24 hours a day.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you may get voicemail.
Yeah. But I'm excited to talk to you all. I want to answer questions. I want to hear your thoughts on cybersecurity. I want to hear about your organization. So please feel free to give me a call. You might see at the bottom there, it says $300 off Nist CSF assessment. Now that's an assessment that's nationwide, and it's a good assessment to understand your current risk and vulnerabilities. It gives you actual data, and it's actually, you get a document showing everything, and it gives you immediate recommendations to put in place. But we walk you through that assessment. At the end, we give you recommendations and show you exactly what you need and how you need to protect your organization and how we can do that for you. That's a $300 off special. So if you're interested in that, please feel free to reach out with those links below. Now I'm gonna pass it to Tom real quick, and he's gonna hit you with a surprise.
Yeah, real quick on the Nist assessment. That's a very time-consuming, in-depth assessment of your vulnerabilities. Okay. We know that probably everybody on this webinar, because if you've already done the 5 things, you're probably not on this webinar.
Yeah.
And if you're a real small organization, you don't need the Nist CSF. We know you need the 5 things. Let's just do it. Let's just skip it. Now, those of you that have to answer to a board of directors, or you have managing partners, or you have other stakeholders that are part of the decision-making process, or you've got 300 accountants in your company, the Nist assessment is a very worthwhile investment, and it stands on its own. It's compliant with Nist. It's a gold standard around the world for doing your cybersecurity right. Okay, but it takes a minimum of 5 hours on our side. It's going to be a couple of hours of your time. So if you're a smaller organization, you're the only decision maker, chances are, we've done this hundreds and hundreds of times. We know what the vast majority of you need. We're going to ask some questions and look at your risk profile at a very high level. So if you just get that meeting in about 10 minutes, Davin's going to be able to tell you which is the best way to go. You'll get an idea of what the costs are going to be, and then it's just a matter of pulling the trigger on it, and we roll it out. So anyway, I'm going to come back to this slide if you haven't written it down yet, but I need to share out my screen.
I can make that happen for you.
I bet you can. Okay, so you've got a surprise here. I got to make sure I do this right. Okay, there's my Zoom box, and there is, now what are you looking at right here? Everybody see that okay? Is that all right? Can you see that okay, Davin?
Yeah, I'm looking at the map.
I can't get my, well, you'll just have to look at the bottom stuff there. This is a new SOC control panel, a Security Operations Center control panel, that is graphically showing real-time attacks on our data center in Nevada. You can see that these are, I don't know if you can, let me optimize it for video so you make sure you see it here. Can y'all see the animations there?
Yeah, they're coming in real time.
Okay. All right. So what's happening here is we've got literally right now, this is real-time production servers. All of these are Exchange servers. Most of them are. And like I said, we're doing a trial on this. We don't have anything else around the country that we're monitoring at the moment. But these are real-time attacks. One's coming from China, one's coming from Russia, and another one looks like it's coming from around Luxembourg or Denmark, somewhere up in that area there, Copenhagen, something like that. These are real-time attacks on these servers. And we've only got like 15 or, well, maybe 25 servers in this particular data center. Look at that. I mean, we're talking
as we
100 a minute, basically.
Yeah.
And this is happening to your network as well. Now we're going to light this up and start monitoring client sites with this, and it's going to just, the United States and Alaska, North America, we're going to see these lines going all over North America, from Russia and India and Iran and all of this as time goes forward. But we are literally under attack thousands of times a day. We are as a company. You are likely under attack hundreds of times a day, and you don't even know it. From within seconds of lighting up a remote desktop, where you can remote in from your home, within seconds of enabling that technology, literally within seconds, somebody around the world knows it and they're trying to hack into it. That's why MFA is so important on a remote desktop, because username and password by itself is simply not good enough. Okay? So anyway, I thought you guys would get a kick out of that. If you do a later webinar, I'm going to throw these in as some surprises later on. It's going to be interesting to see how these all of a sudden we start seeing attacks from Africa and South America. Yeah, the one that's happening in Western Europe right now is probably through a virtual private network connection. It would be very risky for a hacker to be living in a Western democracy and carry out attacks like these. Yeah. So it's probably somebody from Russia that's remoting in to a server in Western Europe and then conducting the attack. Mm-hmm. That's one of the ways they hide their footprints. It's also how you get around the Netflix deal. If you travel to Europe and you can't watch Netflix, you just use a virtual private network, and it looks like you're coming from the United States. But I thought you guys would get a kick out of that. Most people don't get to see the behind-the-scenes stuff like that. So let me reshare out the contact screen so you can get that in case you didn't get it. And there it is. So that first one is to to schedule an appointment with Davin. You can certainly drop him an email, give him a buzz, ask any questions. We're there for you. That's the bottom line. It's our job. We love it. And mine and Davin's role today was to hopefully expand your knowledge and understand that you've got to take it seriously. Oh, and plug my book.
Yeah, there's a little picture down there. I forgot about it.
Yeah. So my book should be out in about a month. If you want to get on the notification list so you can buy a copy of the book, we're probably going to put all the details out. But if you want to get on the list for the book, just drop us an email or just tell Davin when you talk to him or whatever, and we'll put you on the book notification list. So
I know we're coming close to the end, but if there's any questions, please feel free to drop your question in the Q&A or comment box, and we'll of course answer those for you. I know Kinsey has dropped a few links there in the comment box as well. So for free, the meeting.irontechsecurity.com is in the comment box as well. So you can click on that and schedule a meeting as soon as possible for you.
Yeah, we had two affirmatives on the, I assume those were ransomware attacks. Mm-hmm. And so you're looking at around 10%. And you may be interested to know that is very, very typical. Sometimes it's as high as 25% of the people on one of our webinars that have suffered a ransomware attack or know someone personally that has had a ransomware attack. So we all know this stuff is serious.
Yeah.
I'm not telling you guys something you don't know. Everyone knows this is a problem. What we hope to do today is let's take the next step. Let's protect your organization so you can sleep better at night, and quit hoping that it just doesn't happen to you. You can take action and stop this stuff. We have never had a client have a successful attack.
That's
and
true.
The vast majority of them have just the 5 things, or actually 4 of them. Some people don't need MFA, or they're using the free stuff, right? They don't even have to go through us for that. But we've never had one, and I hope I can say that for years to come. I don't think it's realistic, but it's a fact. It does stop ransomware. And another thing about these internet security suites, so you get off of this webinar and you just coincidentally get an email from Norton is really bad now, really, really bad, or McAfee or whoever, whatever you're using for your internet security suite. We're seeing these companies, these shrink wrap software companies, claim that they now have EDR. Woefully inadequate. It's not a true EDR, and it's not backed by a skilled security team. They are not what we call best of breed. A skilled security team is going to put the best technical controls in for your organization, and it's nothing that you can buy off the shelf. Like I said earlier, it's no longer do it yourself, and it's not that expensive. And if it's only 5 or 10 minutes in a phone call to find out, then that's a good investment of your time.
Yeah, it's worth your time for sure.
Yep.
We did have someone ask if there would be slides available after the webinar. I'm going to send out a copy of the recording this afternoon, so you can expect that in your inbox.
Perfect.
No questions? We answered everything, Davin. Good job.
Dang, we did our job. What in the world?
That's right. That's right. I'm sitting here looking at the threat map still. Yeah, we've done these things over the years, and if you guys have ever seen it at a trade show or a conference, we have a big screen set up, and we got a bunch of different tools like this that show real-time threats. We've got one that we use that shows it's not our stuff, it's the whole planet threats, and then boy, those lines go crazy on those. It's almost, well, it is overwhelming. And there are only certain types of attacks. You wouldn't be able to see the map if everything was tracked. Yeah. So these are, I don't know exactly what the ones that you saw are, but they're probably trying to exploit known vulnerabilities in Windows server operating systems, and they're doing port scanning, which is, I'm getting into the weeds now, nerd talk. But yeah, it's real. So make that first step. All right, I don't see any questions. All right. And we're 2 minutes over. So thanks again for joining us today. We certainly hope you learned something.
All right. We're excited to talk to you again in our next webinars. Of course, keep up with us, and we'll talk to you again soon.